All right. Good evening. Thank you guys for coming out to this course on how to start a business. I'm going to share my screen for a moment and then we'll get started. I'm not sure. Sorry. All right. It's loading. Okay, well, my name is Jackie McIntosh Shedrick. I am the owner of BOK Creative Filings. I'm also an attorney here in New York, and I have a business that is solely with regards to helping people start their businesses. Um, Let me just introduce myself. I'm a small business attorney here from New York, um, owner of BOK Creative Filings. We have now been in business for 2 years, going on 2 years. Within the last 2 years, we've helped create about 200 Black-owned businesses in the New York area, which is really exciting. I'm a graduate of Michigan State University College of Law, where I graduated the valedictorian speaker. I've been a business owner, it says 2005, but honestly, probably since I was real young, probably like 5. I used to sell Kool-Aid off my step in Queens. Also, I'm a really big Mets fan, Nets fan, Giants fan. So it's been a real frustrating period of time for me, sports wise. Before we get started, I kind of wanted to just go over, a few things. I know a lot of people really get hung up when it comes to starting a business on like, oh, I need to pick the right structure, or I need to pick the right, should I be a B Corp? Should I be an LLC? Should I be a sole proprietor? Honestly, this part is important, but the biggest thing I like to tell people is just get started. Like, if you have an idea, see if the idea works first before we start talking about structures. An example I like to use is, again, when I was like 6 or so, I lived in Bricktown. And my big thing that I did was I would make Kool-Aid in the kitchen, and then I would put them in little cups, and then I would freeze them. So whenever people got out of their camp in like PS 116, it's summertime, they would want to come and get like ice cups or like Kool-Aid cups. And it wasn't anything too serious. It wasn't like, oh, I was some big LLC or had a C Corp. I was just a 6-year-old who saw there was a need. I realized it only took about 25 cents to do it, and I was able to sell 50 cents. And I had a business. So you don't have to always think of it as being so big. Sometimes it's just having an idea, seeing what your costs are, and seeing if you can execute it. So, try to start the business first, see if you can execute 1 or 2 sales, and then we can talk about if you can do structure. But let's say you have your business idea. It's time when you start thinking about what type of structure you want to do. So here in New York, we have pretty much 3 structures you can do. You can be a sole proprietor. You can also get a limited liability company, or you can start a corporation. Now, there are big differences between all 3. So generally speaking, a sole proprietor, you're kind of just working under your name. You're not a separate company, so your business isn't separate from um, from yourself. And it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to do any special like LLC forms. You pretty much just go to the county you live in. So, most of us either live in Queens or Brooklyn or Long Island. You go to your county clerk. You complete a form. The form has to be notarized, and I think you pay $100 fee. And then what you do is, if you choose to, you can choose to get an EIN from irs.gov. And getting an EIN is free. It's not difficult. Um, don't fall for anything where someone's like charging $50 to get an EIN. You don't need to do that. It's really simple. And honestly, like if someone's going to charge you that, just come find me and I will send you the link and we'll go through it together, because it's not something you should have to pay for someone to do. We provide it as a service with our package, but it's not an extra fee. It's just something we do because it's easy to do. So you shouldn't have to. Don't pay someone to get an EIN. The risk of having a sole proprietor is that you kind of put yourself at risk if anyone were to sue you for your business. So because you and your business are one and the same, there really isn't any separation of liability. So if they come after you, God forbid someone sues you and they actually win, they won't just go after the business assets. They'll actually be able to go after the your personal assets, just like your business. I mean, not your business, your bank account, your house, car, things of that nature. So that's why we're going to move on to the next one, which is a limited liability company. So the cool thing about a limited liability company is that you get the protections of being like your own entity, your own business entity. However, forming it is fairly simple. Also, the tax situation is a lot easier because it's a pass-through entity, which means that what you're going to do is you're going to complete a regular 1040. So let's say you have a W-2 job as well. You're going to do your 1040. And if you're a single member LLC, you're just going to do something called a Schedule C, and you're just going to do a profit loss statement. That's it. And whatever comes through, you get taxed off that. But it's very easy to do. It's really inexpensive to do as well. It's probably one of the cheaper forms of tax preparation. I definitely recommend LLCs. This is what BLK Creative Filings really does, is LLCs. Here in New York, it's fairly easy to do. We do have a two-pronged thing with it. So the first thing is you really just go to, newyorkstate.gov and you check to see if your name is available. And most times it's going to be available. The only time you're really going to run into an issue is if you have anything in your name that says like financial or says college or things of that nature, because those are type of entities that need a little bit more licensing from the Department of Education. But generally speaking, if you don't have those in your name, you'll be fine. Then you file your articles of organization online. It's very simple. You just walk through the steps. You generally put your name. You put the address for someone to reach out to. If, in case, God forbid, someone sues you, they know who to send a summons to. And then you pay your $200 fee online. And generally speaking, you get a confirmation email within 5 to 10 minutes. It's really fast, really easy. But the way people kind of get caught up is in the publication part. So in the publication part, the publication part is where you have to pretty much put an ad in 2 newspapers in the county that you register, 1 daily, 1 weekly, for 6 weeks. And that can be expensive. For our service, we do it in Albany because we have an address in Albany. But if you do it in Queens, it will maybe run you a lot of money. It can start anywhere from $150 to I've seen anywhere from $300 per publication. That's why sometimes it is cheaper just to do it in another county. So after you run those ads, you have to get something called an affidavit from each of the newspapers, and then you have to prepare a certificate of publication and send it to the state. It's not complicated, and I think it's really weird that New York has this policy. I kind of just think it's a way to keep newspapers in business, and also for them to get an extra fee. But a lot of people forget to do this part, and then unfortunately, sometimes their LLC becomes inactive. So you just want to make sure you follow this publication requirement. I also have other classes that are on my YouTube page that really goes into specifics about the publication requirement. But I think a lot of you guys who I see some familiar names, feel free to reach out to me. Like if you're doing your LLC and you just have questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. So we're just going to go over sole proprietorship versus LLC. And I'm a person who likes to use examples, so this is just one. Marcus is a self-employed barber, but does not know whether he should be a sole proprietor or to form a single LLC. Here's what Marcus should know. A sole proprietor is a business owned by a single person, while an LLC can start with a single member, but can be expanded. Both a sole proprietor and a single member LLC only pay self-employment tax, no corporate tax. And unlike a LLC, a sole proprietor's personal assets are not protected by business debts and liabilities. So that pretty much goes over, what we discussed before. Now, I know a lot of people have heard about an S corp, and I don't do corporations generally for new clients, but I know I've had a lot of people ask me about an S corp. An S corp is theoretically is a corporation, but it's not. It's really just a tax selection, and a lot of times it's not a really, and talk to your tax professional. I don't think it's a really good place to start because, generally speaking, you want to at least be making $75,000 in your business before you decide to do S corp. And also, as an LLC, let's say the first year you make 40,000 and you just do the regular self-employment tax, but then the next year you decide to not decide, but you make 75,000. You don't have to change your entity, which is the good part. All you have to do is ask your tax preparer to say, hey, I want to do an S corp selection, and then they'll be able to walk you through the benefits of doing so. Some of the benefits of doing an S corp pretty much are probably like, you don't have to do the publication requirement, which I understand, can be a little frustrating. However, an S corp can be really limiting because you can only have 100 shares. All the share owners have to be citizens. You do have to take out a tax for a reasonable salary, and the IRS really doesn't determine what that is. So if you're not making a lot of profit in the beginning and you have to take out a salary, it cannot, it may not be the most beneficial in the beginning. However, as you grow, that is something you can grow into. So does anyone have any questions about the entities before we go on to the next thing?
I do.
Okay.
So what you're saying, you can convert from an LLC to an S corp later on if you make more in
Yes,
profit? Okay.
you definitely can. It's more of it's a selection. And also, let's say you outgrow the LLC entity. It's something you can grow up from. Like you can grow into a C corporation and start selling shares. Excuse me. However, in the beginning, in my opinion, I think LLC is the best one because it gives you the best of both worlds. You still get to be a pass-through entity. So in the beginning, your tax returns can be affordable or, a good amount. But when you do start making a large amount or making larger than 75,000, you don't have to do all this ton of paperwork. You more just change your selection with regards to the IRS. I would definitely have a tax preparer, or I wouldn't even do it as a tax preparer. I'd probably do an accountant or a CPA before deciding to switch over to S corp. But they definitely should be able to walk you through the process in and of itself. Are there any other questions before I move on? Alrighty. So when I was doing this class, I really want to talk about branding because again, I started BLK Creative Filings 2 years ago, and I really didn't have a ton of money for doing like ads on the radio or TV, and I dabbled in Facebook ads, but I wasn't very good at it. So I ended up probably wasting thousands of dollars on Facebook ads because I didn't understand the whole sales funnel initially. So I really just want to go back to like what I did. And currently, I don't really spend money on marketing or advertising. More of my marketing is probably using these tips I'm about to go over. And I use stuff that we're on every day, But the first thing I did was I created my target audience. I created who my ideal customer was. And the reason why this is important because it helps you kind of narrow who you're going after. And then you get to figure out where they're at. Like my goal has always been I want to attract people who are like me. So generally speaking, um, women of color, Black women between the ages of 25 and like 50, who have a job, but who want to start a side hustle or they want to start a new business based off of passion. And it's not that they can't do what we're doing. Obviously, they can do it themselves, but they want to save time and money. So I had to figure out where those people were. And in my case, a lot of times they were in certain groups in Facebook. You know, a really popular group that I've learned has been really helpful and valuable to my group or to my business is the Black Resource Network or Black Long Island, or there's a Brooklyn group. But you have to figure out where your clients are. So my clients are generally on Facebook and Instagram. And then you have to learn how to craft your message to them. So in my case, my messaging will never be buy from me, buy this, buy that. I'm probably going to educate more, or I'm probably going to give value to the person, but you'll never catch me in any group saying buy, or it's not my thing. So that was me literally going through my target audience and going through what type of messaging these people want to hear. And I know if they're working all day, they don't want someone who's just like, hey, give me your money. They want someone who gives them value and that they, build authority. And so eventually when they do decide to start their business, they at least consider me. So with Instagram, what I found was using engaging photos and content. Like a really big thing for me was the Instagram live. And I did something where it was simple. Like I did like free giveaways of not even anything that was valuable. It was valuable, but it was more just my time and energy of creating worksheets. But I didn't have to spend a ton of money trying to get this information. Also, I engage with other followers. I don't just talk about me. I try to make sure that whoever's following me, I follow back. If I see posts that they're posting that I think fits my messaging, I try to make sure I comment. Whenever I do put up posts, I try to be very specific with regards to my page. Maybe not my personal page, but my BOK Creative Filings, I try to be on message. And I try to make sure I use captions that work well. And also, I'm a big fan of using the 30 hashtags for each post. And I like to use hashtags in a way that it's either 10 very popular ones, like ones that have maybe 10 million followers. Then I use the ones that are brand specific to me. So for me, it would be like Black lawyer, Black business, Black owned, Black enterprise, things like that. And then I use things that are just maybe regional. So I get more of my clientele. So it'll be Queens, Brooklyn, South Jamaica, Bricktown, where I'm from. What I would say with regards to content on any page is giving value. Like you shouldn't just always be selling. Like some people just don't like, they don't want to go on Instagram just to see a bunch of advertisement. They really want something that's engaging, that's maybe informative, that they feel like they walked away and got something. But not everything can be so highbrow too, because a lot of times, our social media is our escape from our regular life sometimes. So you want to make sure it's engaging, not too highbrow, but enough where they feel like they're getting value. Um, the biggest thing I would say is anyone who reaches out to you, follow up. Like that's why I kind of stay. It looks like I'm always on Facebook, always on Instagram, but it's because that's where all my clientele come from, either word of mouth or Facebook or Instagram. And for any person who reaches out to me, I'm probably going to send them a message back or have my assistant send them a message back within probably 5 to 10 minutes. Because I found that the more you make them wait, the more they go find someone else or something else comes up. So try to just, if they went out their way to go into your messages, try to respond back as soon as possible. There's so much value in responding quickly. If anyone of you guys know me, when it comes to emails, I'm pretty quick. If you email me, I'm very responsive. I give people more of my.
Okay. Yes, you are
I've
very quick.
learned to. I've had to learn to separate a little bit, so I don't give people my cell number anymore. But in the beginning, I used to give my cell number so that I can get text messages. But I try to be as responsive as humanly possible. And another thing is don't spam. Like I don't ever jump in anyone's messages unless they like message me first. Like I hate, and I can't speak for everyone. I just know I hate it. I don't like being spammed. I don't, if I didn't invite you into my messages, don't, or if I didn't, if you didn't invite me into your messages, I'm not going to try to sell you or do like a door-to-door salesman in someone's DMs. Like that's not my thing. It may work from other people, but for my clientele, it seems like it's kind of annoying. So I wouldn't do it. But that's, to each their own. Again, for me, becoming an authority in a subject matter has really been helpful. So I try to create, content that are for my ideal customer. I try to make it simple. Like a lot of my short form videos are less than a minute, if that. And it just gets to the point. And if they have more questions, they know where to find me. I make sure that I answer questions in these groups that I am in. So if something is specific to my topic, I want to make sure that I'm answering it. I also do speaking engagements. I don't, not everything is, sometimes you just have to put the time in. And no, you don't get paid for all these speaking engagements, but the more you have your face out there and more you're in the community, the more you become trusted. And again, it's just about providing value, explaining why your product's important, but not selling it to them because no one wants to be sold to 24/7. Um, Again, networking for me has been really successful. Like I kind of make it a point to at least go out in my community once a week, check out small businesses, check out pop-ups. You have to do whatever works for you for your networking. I actually don't really go to networking events, which is the funny part. Like I like networking events, but sometimes I think they're a little salesman. Yeah, I don't know. But I like doing stuff that going to stuff I like doing. So when I worked in the city, I used to go to dodgeball stuff. Like I used to be in a dodgeball league. Or, if I'm around, like I'm part of a sorority. So I'll go do sorority stuff. Or if I like pop-up shops. That's a weird thing that I like going to. I go to pop-up shops. But I go to things where it makes sense for me to be there. I don't feel like it's wasting my time. I try to do more listening versus, talking. I found that to be much more valuable in creating relationships. Like I don't want to be in someone's face saying, hey, buy from me, buy from me. I really want to hear one, what they do and see if I can even bring value to them or even create a relationship. And another thing I would say is just follow up. So anyone that you like get in contact with, if you get a business card, send them an email the next day. That is the best way to build relationships with regards to networking. Again, like these tips have kind of been the things that have helped me build. And I've actually built BLK Creative Filings faster than any other business I've had in the last 15 and 17 years. In the last 17 years, I've probably, between my law firm, I have another service that's solely for attorneys, and they did really well. But BLK Creative Filings went much faster than expected, and it was really just off these tips, and I didn't have to spend a ton of money on it. Here are just some common mistakes to avoid when networking, and I know I've done it when I was first starting out. Try to avoid being overzealous, self-promotion. Don't be timid. And I know that's kind of difficult, especially if you're an introvert. I know it sounds like I'm not an introvert, but I really am, actually. So I've learned for me, what works for me is one, realizing that no one else is going to talk for me. I have to talk for myself. And two, I try to listen when I'm around people. So I don't always have to be the starter of the conversation or be the boisterous one in the conversation. Sometimes my best value is listening and then following up in an email. Don't be afraid to ask questions. to people, like even if you think they're stupid, because I'm not gonna say there aren't stupid questions. I don't believe in that rule, but I do think sometimes we think that things are common sense in our field of study when they're not. So like if I met a doctor, I wouldn't, I would probably ask something that would seem common sense, but to me, I don't know. So don't hesitate to ask questions, but be a little bit thoughtful with the questions. And again, don't forget to follow up. That is the most important one, is following up. But these are pretty much have been the things that have helped me. 1 second. Like I can't imagine me building my business without these tools. And I also have, sorry. I also have some slides too about a business plan. And I'm just going to keep it very simple with regards to the business plan. What I did was I literally got a notepad and a pen. And I figured out what my mission statement was. I did a mission statement that was only about 3 sentences long, because I wanted to keep it simple. I figured out what my goal was, how much money I wanted to make within a year. And then I worked backwards. How many people did I have to reach? Who is my target audience? Who is my competition with regards to this audience? It's not difficult. Like, I definitely have slides for that as well, but don't overthink about it. Like, you can do it on 1 page, a really, really basic plan. And the best thing I can tell you to do is stick to the plan. Like, I'm a big person on create a plan and work the plan and trust the plan. And for me, just put your head down and work has been a big part of it. But if I could tell anyone, it would be just like, it can be a simple like envelope, but just come out with some plan and it'll definitely help you. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on this class today on how to start a business. I'm really passionate about doing this because this has kind of been my journey for the last 15 years of just starting businesses and seeing how they go. Some businesses did really well, and then some were like complete failures. I think I'm going to do a video on like the ones that were horrible. Like I tried to do a tax practice, and I hate tax law. I don't even know why I did it. I was like, oh, I'm good at tax, but you shouldn't do something you don't like, obviously. So that was a complete fail. But BOK Creative Filings is something I'm really passionate about. I'm really passionate about Black people creating their own economies, starting businesses. And even if it's just a side hustle or a side business, it's just taking that first step. And my goal has always been just to help people take that first step. So that's why part of me thinks that's why this business was successful, was because I'm really passionate about it. But before BRN, hey DJ Net, okay. So before I get off here, because I don't want to waste you guys' time, I know we're all probably getting off work and stuff. Oh, can you repeat your formula? Okay, sorry, I talk fast. So my formula is for my business plan. I create a mission statement. My mission statement is literally maybe 3 sentences. Then I create what my financial goal is for let's say 6 months. And I'm a simple person. I keep it very simple. 6 months. How do I reach this financial goal? And I work backwards. How many people do I have to take as clients? All right, and I have that number. So we all know the law of numbers. So let's say it's 100 people. So in order for me to reach 100 people, I probably need to reach out to at least 10,000 people to get there. This is when it comes to creating your target audience. How do you reach 10,000 people of your target audience? That's when you start doing the research of your competition, and you start figuring out where your target audience is and how do you reach them. And then you have to figure out what your budget is. How much can you afford per client when making a sale? What is your ROI on your clients? And it's very simple. It's like I did it in 1 page. I didn't overthink about it. I wasn't like up at night like, oh, let me get this business plan. I sat here with yellow pad, and a pen. I don't even think I had a pen. I think it was like a pencil or something like that. And I just created the outline of the OK creative filings on like a Sunday afternoon. I filed the LLC like an hour later. I had the website domain name 2 hours later, and just started going from there. But I didn't overthink it. It's really just your mission statement, who your target audience is, how do you reach them, and then just working the plan that way. But I always say, for me, working backwards helps. So if I know what number I'm trying to reach financially, then I need to know how many people I need to reach that number. And then I need to know where those people are. So it's not complicated. Um, but if you have questions about that, don't hesitate to, give me a call or send me a message or whatnot. I love answering those. I like those type of conversations. Does anyone have any questions? Anybody? I'm just looking in the chat to make sure.
I have a
Thank you,
question.
Jackie.
Oh, hey, how are you? Did someone have a question? Sherry?
I did. I thought someone else was talking. Sorry. So in regards to like trademarking and stuff, that's a separate
Yes.
Zoom that you'd be doing.
Trademark is important. It's not overly difficult, but it's very detailed, because a lot of times, you do the initial application, you have to do a search with regards to the category. So you can trademark in particular categories. So it won't just be a trademark of the name in total, but let's say you sell like headscarves or scarves. You want to make sure you do it in that category of clothing or of scarves, of things of that nature. So you do a search, see if the name is available. Then you do an application, and the application generally is like $250 per category. You submit the application, and it takes about anywhere from 6 to 9 months to hear anything back from them. And a lot of times they're going to send you a letter just asking for more information. Excuse me. And that's when you have to start, just doing the research on, hey, why are they blocking it? That's why it's probably important to have an attorney who walks through it with you. So like you can do the initial application, but you probably want someone to help you really detail it well. So if there are any questions, they'll be able to combat it. Are there any other questions? All right. So I think, unless anyone has any questions, I think I'm going to edit it. I want to thank you guys for coming to this class. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to, send me a message on Facebook. I'll even put my email in the chat so you guys can reach out to me that way. And I'll also put my office line on there as well. One second. But my goal is just to hope, if you're thinking about starting a business, just try it. It's not, I know it seems a little overwhelming, and sometimes it really is. But in the beginning part is the most exciting part, because you just want to see if the idea works. You want to see if it's a good idea or something you can do. And it's nerve-wracking, but it's the same way, it's kind of exciting. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then you just try again. Because trust me, I have fallen plenty of times down this whole business thing, and some things work, some things don't. But I just want to encourage you guys to try. So thank you guys so much for coming out, and I'm going to end it now. And thank y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, too.
All right.